Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Zach Williams, and I'm part of the sales and customer care team here at Algorithm. And it's my pleasure to be joined on the webinar today by John Jones, Algorithm's Network Services Manager.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about today I think this is probably one of my favorite webinars, one of my favorite topics to present, just because I think to me, it's one of the coolest things that we're doing at Algorithm right now. We have a lot of innovative partners when you think about the folks at Whitesys and Link and Sniperdyne and Pulse and whatnot. But this, to me, I think is a game changer, and I think a lot of our customers can benefit from it. I'm proud of what John and his team have done, and it's a pretty exciting topic to talk about. And on top of that, I get to do most of the talking today, which I don't usually do. So that's an added bonus for me, probably not, maybe less so for you all. Before we dive in, just a couple housekeeping things. I'm going to keep the phones unmuted today. So if you have any questions, feel free to speak up at any time. I want this to be an interactive session. Please don't put us on hold because everybody will hear your wonderful hold music and we'll have to mute the phones. Feel free to mute us if you have to step away, but try and not put us on hold. That would be outstanding. So with that, I think I should be able to see my screen now. For the next slide, and before we get into this too much, I want John to kind of give us a background on the Algorithm Network Services team and how we came around to offering hosted solutions to our customers.
Thanks, Zach. Right around the year 2001, we started Algorithm Network Services, and we've been providing network services for Algorithm customers that may need additional help when it comes to networking, servers, and the like. So it was really a natural progression for us to move into hosted services as soon as it became available. As you probably know, it's only been recently that the internet speeds have been usable so that we could host servers at remote locations. In the past, dial-up and early cable and DSL speeds were not there that we could have a server off-site and still have the performance act like it was within your infrastructure. So this was actually, due to technology, we were able to expand this offering. In 2011, we decided to actually offer this as a product. What we found was most of our customers had very little experience with hosting, and we provided the opportunity to have our Macola and Exact product expertise in kind of a small package that allowed people to utilize our expertise for their benefit. So by hosting our servers for our customers, they really are getting the best of all worlds.
Great. Thanks, John. So what I want to go over today is when I'm talking to a customer about our hosted offerings, they usually have 4 or 5 questions that everyone asks. So today we're going to kind of focus on these FAQs, and as we walk through, I think within the next half hour or so, you should have a pretty good understanding of what our hosted solutions have to offer and how they work. So the questions that we always get asked, and I'm sure you're thinking these today, are: what is it? Why would I want that? How does hosting Macola work? And then what about, so that's the little things, so what about internet connectivity? What about my Exact licenses? What about, I'm running F9? So the little questions always come up, and then how much does it cost? So we're going to step through those 5 questions, and I think at the end you'll have a pretty good idea of what we can do. Okay, so the first one, what is it? Algorithm's hosted services, or hosted Macola, is a total managed technology option for small and mid-sized organizations. That's the official verbiage. What that means is algorithm does all the heavy lifting on the back end, and all you do is use the software. So think of it like Gmail or Hotmail. You can log in to your Gmail account from anywhere in the world, from virtually any device, and your mail looks the same to you. All you have to do is use the software, and on the back end, Google handles all of that heavy lifting, the managing the data, and the making sure it's available to you. That's what we wanted to do with Macola, and that allows you to focus on growing your business instead of maintaining this Macola environment that can be pretty cumbersome if there aren't a lot, or if there's not a great deal of in-house IT expertise. So why would you want that? Well, the first reason, I guess the biggest reason that people come to us to talk about hosting is that they're using aging hardware. So they have servers that are 4, 5, 6 years old. They're running an older version of SQL. They need to get current, but they don't know what they need. They don't know what they don't know, basically. So what kind of hardware do we need to buy? How many Windows licenses do we need? How many SQL cows do we need? Well, when you host with Algorithm, all that is off the table. We handle all of that. So there's no upfront hardware cost. There's no licensing. Everything is kept up to date and current by us. You also don't need any internal resources to manage and support this environment. So Macola is a pretty big, it's a hefty product, and it needs a pretty robust server environment to operate efficiently. Well, you don't need to have your IT staff or your Macola power user spending their time managing that. That's something that we feel like we do pretty well, probably better than anyone in the country. We've been implementing and supporting Macola for over 20 years now. We're pretty good at it, and we feel like that's something that you shouldn't have to do if you don't want to. Another reason is that it's just simple. It works. If you, I'll hop over and show you a demo here in a couple minutes, and it'll probably be the shortest software demonstration you've ever seen, because it's a really simple product to use, and it just works. You log in, and you're using Macola from anywhere. I touched on this earlier, and John mentioned it as well, is that hosting Macola allows you to access Macola ES or Progression on any device, whether it be an iPad, an iPhone, an Android phone, an Android tablet. John is a Mac man, so he's always using his MacBook Air, and he can run Macola on his Mac without any issues. And the big thing for folks that have a lot of remote employees or offices kind of spread around is you can access Macola anywhere. So you can, if you have your corporate office in Chicago and you have a sales rep in Seattle, they can click on an icon and access Macola ES just as if it was sitting down the hall in a server room. Or, I don't know why you would, but Mike Oswalt tends to use his iPad to access ES a lot. I've seen him use it in a plane. He would probably, if you'd want to, but he could use it on a beach too. Not that you would want to be accessing Macola ES while you're on vacation, but
well, I do think
that sounds like a Mike thing, so you could do that. As I mentioned before, we are the Macola experts. We don't feel like you should have to be the Macola experts. You should be able to use the software and use it effectively, but we don't think that goes into being able to manage and support the environment. So we're the experts. When you host with us, we manage and support and monitor your Macola install 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And lastly, but definitely not least important, it's secure. It is a secure environment. John will talk about our hosting partner here in a couple minutes, but they are SAT 70 compliant. We have data centers, or they have data centers located around the globe. We host in Chicago. We can rapidly spin up a new server. So if your business is growing, you need to add new users, or we're adding other applications, a new server can be ready to go within 24 hours. So there's no lead time, there's not a great deal of lead time that we need to get a new server. Everything is kept up to date. All the Windows patches, your licenses are kept up to date. There's not anything that you need to manage from an IT side in-house. That's all on us. And it's backed up at regular intervals throughout the day, you have a full, you're able to do a full backup from day one if you need to. I don't think that'll be a problem when we talk about our partner here. You'll see why, but we are very secure. Okay, the next slide, how does it work? Well, from your perspective, you log in and that's it. It's really pretty simple. But on the back end, we have we've partnered with two companies that are kind of the leaders in what they do. One is Citrix. We use their Zen app product, and the other is Rackspace. They're our hosting partner. And I'm going to let John talk about each one of these companies and the products, and then we'll hop into a quick demonstration.
Thanks, Zach. Citrix is our first partner that we'd like to talk about. They actually provide, and some of you may be running Citrix right now, and if so, good deal. Citrix Zen app is specifically their latest version, 6.5, is kind of the epitome of what remote application delivery should be. If you're not familiar with Citrix Zen app, it's kind of like terminal services on steroids. It's actually the ability to do many other things besides remotely log in to a server. Zen app allows you to instead of logging into a server with your username and password, you're actually just logging in and pulling an individual application if you'd like. For example, Macola. So you log into our environment at Rackspace in our Chicago data center, and you start Macola all by itself. No need to start an entire remote desktop session. Just start what you need. Zen app is, well, without gushing about it too much, it's
Gush away.
Zen app is really the piece that makes this all possible. They've created an excellent piece of software. And our second partner is,
Let me, before John, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Let me show you Citrix really fast, show you how easy it is to log in, and then we'll talk about Rackspace after that. So I'm going to jump away from the PowerPoint for a second, and I'm going to go down here to my Zen. So basically, I clicked on an icon on my desktop, and it brought me to this screen. I'm going to log in. And right away, you see all the apps that I have access to. So I have Macola ES, and I have Progression. We also have Word and Excel out here. But just to show you how easy this is, I'm going to open up Macola ES. While I'm doing that, you should see now Macola ES opened up, and this is actually running in Chicago right now. We're in Dublin, Ohio, and just like that, I've logged in and I can do whatever I need to do as if this was sitting in a server just down the hallway. I'm not going to take you through Macola ES, you obviously know how that works, but let me close that out of this, and just to show you, to prove that it works for both flavors of Macola, I will open up Progression. You can see that one too.
and while he's opening that, another thought just came to mind. If you're even thinking about moving from Progression to Macola ES, this might be a way to get that project off the ground. The process to move from Progression to ES is a little complicated, and we at Algorithm have done quite a few of those. But what this gives you is having an environment, having a playground to actually run your Progression to ES conversion and to test it out prior to actually going live. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's great. You can see I've started up Progression here. So neither of these apps are here in Dublin. They're both in Chicago. I could do this on my iPhone, on my iPad. I could be in Timbuktu, assuming they had network access, and I could run Macola.
Also works on Android app.
Yes, and Android app. All of the above. Let me hop back over here. And John, could you tell us a little bit about Rackspace and our hosting partner?
Certainly. Rackspace they've been around for quite a long time. They started out doing just that and providing Rackspace for people with their own servers. They have since grown to the world leader of hosting, and we wanted to do this a long time ago. We wanted to start this probably in about 2009, 2010. We started talking about hosting Macola in the cloud. And when we decided to go with a partner, it was, we did not want to fail on something that was out of our hands. And Rackspace has never let us down. They have provided 100% uptime, guaranteed, and they are not or have ever been a reason that we have had downtime. They are, their tech support is consistently available, and they provide us, an algorithm, the tools to manage your server how we would like to manage it best. Rackspace is traded on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, I don't know, but they are traded. No, it is the New York Stock Exchange. RAX is their, but I digress.
Yeah, we, as John said, Rackspace is the cream of the crop. I don't usually include links in our presentations, but I wanted to just kind of highlight the security part, the security page from Rackspace, from their website. I would urge you to go there, read about Rackspace, see what they do. They've received every award, recognition, certification that you can imagine when it comes to cloud hosting, and they really are the best of the best. So when we trust our data with Rackspace, and we have zero issues with recommending them to our customers. And the next thing I wanted to show you, and this, I know we're kind of bouncing back and forth, but this is what it looks like when you run Macola ES from your iPhone. This is my iPhone, and I took some screenshots this morning. If you can see my pointer right here, I opened up this little Citrix receiver application, and you can see the apps that we have available. And if you'll notice, it's very similar, identical to what we have back here. So it's same thing. Like I said, it doesn't matter which device you're using to access these. I clicked on Macola ES, and I know this looks like a tiny Macola ES screen. That's because it is. This was on my iPhone, so it's not really practical to use Macola ES on an iPhone. But just to show you that it doesn't matter which operating system you're running, you can use it to access your Macola software. Okay. So the next question that usually comes up, once everybody sees it, they love it, but then they kind of get into the details and they say, well, what if my internet goes down? And that is going to be a problem. But usually, I think we don't live in an exceptionally highly connected part of the country, and we rarely have internet outages. And when we do, we can turn to things like air cards, our phones, or if you have a tablet that you can access the internet via a cellular network, that'll work as well. So if you live in an area where there is spotty network connectivity or intermittent internet outages, we would have to talk about that, and that should be a consideration if you decide to go to hosted. But just because the internet goes down, you're not necessarily dead in the water.
That is correct. And a lot of our customers have second ways. A lot of our hosted customers have secondary methods of connecting to the internet. Say they had a T1 to the internet, they would perhaps have a less expensive cable modem that also goes to the internet.
Mm-hmm. So what about your Macola licensing? From Exact's perspective, this is no different than housing Macola ES or Macola Progression in-house in your facility. It's still hosted on a single server, and there's nothing that we need to take care of from a licensing perspective. If you're using other applications to access your Macola data, it could be Event Manager, F9, Crystal, Wysis, whatnot. It really does not matter. We can, if we need to, we can move those applications to the cloud also. they can access the Macola data more easily. But it's really, we'll have to take those on a kind of an individual basis to talk about how you're using Macola and how the data is accessed. But just because you have a third-party application, it does not mean that you cannot host Macola in the cloud. I list a couple of cloud server right now on our demo server. We have folks that have asked us to host applications like this in the cloud as well, and that's not a problem. As you can see, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and Exchange all work without any issues. And I'm sure the list is bigger than just what we've shown you. So if you have questions about hosting applications in the cloud, give us a call and we can talk through that with you. And the last question is what it's like to move to the cloud. So if you told us today that you wanted to host Macola in the cloud, it would probably take us 24 hours to have the environment ready. So because Rackspace is so big and so good at what they do, we can spin up new servers and new environments almost instantaneously. So we would be ready for you, tomorrow morning. And at that point, it's just a matter of moving the data from your server over to ours at Rackspace. And that's just, like a typical server move. So there's not really a lot of extra steps that we have to go through or that you have to go through. That would be all on our end, getting your data and installing it at Rackspace. And I think I have the lines unmuted, or they should be. I'm going to unmute them now if they're not. Are there any questions at this point before we move forward? Questions or concerns about our processes, Rackspace, Citrix, anything like that? Is anybody using Citrix today? We'll take that as a no. All right. One thing I should mention before we move forward, if there are any, if anybody would like to see, would like to have access to this site, we can certainly set you up with with some login credentials so you could log in and play around and see what it's like with Macola ES or Macola Progression. So we'll follow up with everybody that's on the webinar and set you up with logins if that's something that you'd like to do. Okay, and I think the last question, which everybody's kind of wondering, is how much does it cost? So we've priced this on a per user, per month basis. So depending on the number of users, the more users, obviously the price goes down a little bit, and you can see the different levels that we have there. I think there might be additional price breaks as the user count increases, but we've kind of had all of our customers so far have fallen into one of these three categories. And what you get for this is really, you get a secure, scalable environment that is really turnkey for you. So you have nothing you need to do on your end except for log in. And that can be on any device from anywhere. As long as you have an internet connection, you have access to your Macola data. I was actually using this the other day. I had a migraine and was working from home, and I was accessing Macola from my laptop, from my bed with the curtains drawn. So
that's dedication.
Yeah, that is dedication. And I was being shouted at by the boss, so I had to log in. But Citrix allowed me to do that. We monitor these environments 24/7. Rackspace always has someone on site, and really all this allows you to focus on growing your business and not managing and supporting and implementing an environment for Macola. Again, we want you to use the software. We don't want you to have to support and maintain it.